Welcome back. And as always, thank you. And please like and subscribe. Hit us up with your questions. That being said, today's episode, and for a couple more episodes after this, we're going to do a small series based on a couple questions that we got via DMs around how to hire an agency, or what should I look for when I'm trying to hire some sort of agency, be it digital, be it something else potentially. Let's get right into it. So we're going to kind of cover this in a couple different topics, but the first one is planning for success. And within planning for success, there's a couple different things that you want to be asking, especially if you're switching digital agencies or want to hire a digital agency for the first time. Question one, how do you plan on analyzing current and historical data in our ad account? Okay, so what are they going to do about it? So the very first thing is that you're trying to understand from this question back from them is, do they have a clear methodology? How do they diagnose constraints based on that historical data? And how are they analyzing the data to find new opportunities in your customer acquisition strategy? Also, you need to understand what their data security is as well as a part of this, right? So what are they doing with the data? Does it go into a master database that they have? Is it separate, and is it just yours? And if you discontinue working with them, do they delete it? That's the first question.
Yeah, and that one's really important, because if you're not asking that question, it could be that what you're being provided with is just a very surface level, here's our general product, and there's like a very general process. Obviously, the team would have built, but when you get into the actual nuance of it, there's very little meat behind it. So you have to make sure that it's not just a facade.
Yeah. So remember, the most important thing coming back is, what's the methodology? How do they uncover context? How do they go that layer deeper beyond the obvious numbers? How do they get into the context of what your business is and how it does what it does and how it serves your customer? Number two, using the data, what is the unique plan or process your agency uses to execute on ideas and strategies? So beyond just going through the data and getting different pieces of information that are going to pivot you tactically, also, how do they incorporate this into a bigger strategy, and what are the things that they're looking for?
Yeah, so a big part of this is that ideation. Executing ideation is something that is all over the map when it comes to agencies, and how they actually go through and incorporating those ideas into a strategy. You'll find that with a lot of agencies, there's going to be a lot of ideas thrown around, but it's not something tangible that can be incorporated into a strategy that's going to meet your objective, or it's not easy to incorporate those ideas into a campaign. So you have to make sure there's some sort of understanding of, for example, how are we managing the budget? We can't just have all of these ideas and not be able to incorporate them into the existing budget. So it needs to be tangible for you.
So what you're really looking for in the answer back is, what are the steps that they're going to take to develop the strategy, and what pivots do they make according to it, in the sense of like taking that data and saying, okay, your current strategy is this, we need to pivot here and here. Underlying all of this, also, as a potential client for them, you need to understand the process, because the deeper the process, it might have cost implications. And like Ricky said before, some people just come up with ideation off the cuff. They're not using data to come up with their creative ideation, etc. You want to know if that's true or not. But also, you want to also ask, as a part of this, how successful they have been at managing marketing budgets in times of economic uncertainty, because that is actually really, really critical. Because sometimes there's some sort of algorithm change, there's some sort of change in the way data is being tracked or whatever have you, costs all of a sudden balloon. How have they handled that in the past as part of the strategic process?
Yeah, absolutely. And the third question is, what strategies and tactics will allow you to lower my customer acquisition cost and increase my lifetime value? So you guys hear us talk about customer acquisition cost and lifetime value all the time. They're hugely critical. And one of the really important things about this question, you need to test their knowledge of these two things, because they may not have a deep understanding, of customer acquisition cost or lifetime value. They might be good in one, but not in the other. So you need to test that knowledge.
Yeah, and how are like what you're really trying to get out of this question is, are they looking past the KPIs? Remember, KPIs measure the likelihood a metric will happen. A metric measures money. So are they looking past the KPIs and into the metrics? By asking them point blank, like the previous two questions, I would keep the order between the first, the second, and now the third, because now you understand what they're doing with your data. You understand how they're generating a strategy, but now that they're locked into their answer, you're hitting them with, how are you getting me results, right? Like, how are you going to lower my customer acquisition cost? How are you going to increase my lifetime value? And it's a loaded question now, because if in the first two they didn't address it somewhat, now they're on the back foot, and you're going to be able to tell. They might be able to skate by on this answer, but if it's not already embedded in the answer of the last two questions and you had to bring it up, it's a red flag, because what then shows you that they're highly tactical and they're not strategic, and they're not looking on how to develop metrics. They're just specialists at whatever it is that they do, and they're just like copy pasting that methodology over and over again. So thanks so much for tuning in. Next episode, we're going to get into a different section about the questions that you should be asking a potential agency if you're looking to hire one. Until next time.